Hi, I'm Andy. I've just got back from Dublin. I'm just going to put a tweet out now to say that I'm live and let's get some people watching this. Getting some Manchester United questions in. I can see people coming straight away. I'll just put this out now onto social media. Please, if you've got any questions, send them through to me. I've got lots of questions coming in already. I'm a bit tired because of a bit of a long one. Let me just tweet this out now. There we go. And away we go. So I can see that people are starting to tune in. Let's just try it this way. I think it's could be quite a relaxed way, rather than just outside stadiums. I still intend to do them, and it's great to meet a sample of people, but maybe we can do a bit more in depth on this. And if you have any questions, then send them through to me. I'm going to try as well not to have the interruptions that we had last time. First question is from Dale O'Donnell. Gravy or curry on your chips? All right, Dale, cheers for helping us out in Dublin last night. We sold United We Stands in Dublin. Only the last few copies of the summer issue, and they were in Manchester and we had to get them to Dublin. And one lad dropped them off at another lad's house in North Manchester. He drove them to South Manchester. Two lads put them on the plane. I met them at Dublin Airport. Paddy Crowan and David May came through at the same time. They weren't the people who brought the mags over. And I got the bus down to Lansdowne Road. I stood in the sun. And I thought, you know what? I quite fancy selling the mag. Sold the mag for 22 years. And I'm starting to get rude questions coming in now. I'm not going to answer that one about being bummed by a horse. All right, I might as well answer it because it's going to keep coming in. I think I would rather not be bummed by a horse in answer to that one. But if everyone thought that I had been, so what? I can live with that. You have to have a thick skin when you do what I do. You get a bit of stick anyway. But if I was walking around with people saying that's a guy who got bummed by a horse, it's not going to be great, is it? So United won. I asked Mourinho the first question in the press conference afterwards about how the tour had gone, and he was satisfied. He said, I keep repeating myself, but the organisation's good, the pitch is good, and I'd broadly go along with that, except there was an issue with the organisation at the Aviva Stadium last night, because when the game started, there was a massive block of seats, probably 2,000. And I was told at half time that originally was going to be a buffer zone between the fans. I mean, that's odd straight away because it's a pre-season friendly. Sampdoria were only ever bringing 100 fans tops. I went in to speak to them at half time and spoke to their ultras. And what then happened was they decided not to have a buffer, but the FAI, Football Association of Ireland, didn't put the tickets on sale. So the game started and United fans are watching it, many of them in Ireland, because United are obviously very well supported there, and people who tried to get tickets, or good price tickets, because it was very expensive, they started complaining to the club. FAA admitted that they'd forgot to put the tickets back on sale. Manchester United were not impressed by it. Relevant, the organisers, they charged a lot for tickets. They send out press releases which are far too long, but they can point to a lot of success. I'd just like to see cheaper price tickets, because I know the American market can stomach higher ticket prices, but there's a lot of good people who would like to watch United and couldn't do. Someone's just asked about Phil Jones. I know that Jose likes him. I think he had some good games pre-season. The thing with Jones is he's got to avoid injury. He's perfect age profile, he's strong, he's versatile. He's just got to avoid injury. I think when he's playing, he can play really well. And I'd say that the manager likes him. The manager's indicating that he wants to keep as many players as possible. Managers tend to do that. They'd rather stockpile. Sir Alex Ferguson did it. The problem is, for players want to be playing football. David Lynch asked, what did you think of Sampdoria? Not much, but you know, I spoke to quite a lot of Sampdoria supporters, and their lack of optimism quite surprised me, because I've always respected them and thought that they're a good club. I remember the '92 team which got to the European Cup final against Barcelona. I love the kits. I went to the Derby game last year. I stood in and among the Sampdoria ultras against Genoa. It was a great night. It was €25 for a ticket. It's mad, isn't it? €25 to watch a top-class Italian derby, and 3, 4, 5 times that to watch a pre-season friendly. And they were saying, we'd like to finish 10th this season. And I said, 10th? You're Sampdoria. They said, well, no, because we know that the top 5 is already decided. We can't compete with them. And it's pretty pessimistic. Imagine going into a new season thinking that the best you're going to do is finish 10th. And I asked him about Federico Macheda, because he left United to Sampdoria, and I went to see Kiko in April. He played in Novara in the 2nd division in Italy. And he said it was a big mistake going to Sampdoria. Ferguson had told him not to go. And the Sampdoria fans concurred. They said that he hadn't worked out. E.A. Mobile, Pereira, what a chance to impress. He's had a good few minutes, but too many simple mistakes. Well, I spoke to him last night. I waited for him because I wrote a piece about him on Tuesday, and he came out and he did speak to me. And Daryl Lynch is asking about Joel Pereira. We'll come back to that one. I thought that was going to be another Andreas Pereira. And I don't think last night was Andreas Pereira's best game in the pre-season. That was clearly against Real Madrid in Santa Clara. But I think he has done well. His problem is, and I've spoken to him about this, he can't be playing 10 games a season. He's a very good 21-year-old player. Is he good enough to play for United long term? Well, I think we'd only know that if he got into the rhythm of playing well. But that's catch-22, because managers are not as inclined to take risks and play a young player, unless Messi or maybe Martial. But I do think he's got something. He's energetic. He drives forward. He passes the ball well. He's 2-footed. He's versatile. He can play a 6, an 8, a 10. He can play on the wings. I think he's better for what's he called? My mind has just gone absolutely blank. Adnan Januzaj, who was his big mate. I think he's better for him going. And he now knocks around with Joel Pereira, which is the next question. And I think Pereira is a much more sort of positive, dependable person, and that would probably reflect well on Andreas Pereira. But what's going to happen is you're going to get to the end of this month, and he will look at how many games he's played. And if he's not featured, because he didn't feature in any of the 3 games at the start of last season, that's when he went on loan. If he goes on loan, he's probably good enough to be playing for a Sevilla type club. What's happening this week? Someone else asked. I think there's going to be an interesting announcement tomorrow from a player. I think that's going to get headlines. So watch out for that. Tomorrow afternoon, I think a United player will make some news. And Joel Pereira, I think Jose Mourinho wants to keep 3 goalkeepers, because if one's injured, what do you do then? Unless you have a recall option on the loan. And that's why Sam Johnson stayed around for such a long time, went on the tours, played on the tours. I think that Mourinho and his staff, they rate Joel Pereira highly. El Gato, the cat. And he's a confident young man. You can see him. And I've watched him mix in with the different players, the first team players, the established players. And he's a confident lad. Last night, I just got a couple of bits of memorabilia which may be interesting for you. That was a match programme. That was €5. Some people are interested in match programmes, so I thought I'd show that to you. We had the last few copies of United We Stand on sale, the summer one. Got about 10 left, so that was worth doing. And as I was digging them out, I found that. That's a book from Tom Clare, and Tom is, he's described himself here, Ramblings of a Nostalgic Old Red. Tom's a United fan, he's a Manchester lad, he's lived in Houston for a long time. I think he worked as a professor. And I met him recently when United played against Manchester City, and he's not in the best of health. I don't think that's a secret, and if you're watching, Tom, I know you've got some treatment coming up. I hope it goes all right. I'm going to get stuck into your book. More questions have been coming through. I've just got a few days now where the horse question, people keep asking me about this. I'm going to go to the grave, me, aren't I, with the horse question etched on it. Now I've got 3 or 4 days now. I'm going to get stuck into United We Stand, and then I'm going to go to Tirana, Albania, across to Lake Ohrid in Macedonia, and then to Skopje for the final. The Macedonian Reds are organising a fan event, and I've been invited to that, which is very kind of them. I met them a few years ago. Young lads, very enthusiastic, Philip and the boys, and they showed me around Skopje. I never thought that Manchester United would end up playing there, but that's going to happen. I do think it's a big game. Don't think it's a glorified friendly. It's Real Madrid. The Super Cup is definitely worth winning, and I'm looking forward to it. It's hard to get to, but there's a lot of United fans going. I think we're going to really outnumber Real Madrid massively, because they don't travel well. They just moan when they're not winning everything, but they're actually winning everything at the moment. So I think that'll be a good turnout. Although it's really, really hard to get to. There's very few direct flights. Ashwini, will Rashford be a starter or a super sub this season? I think only the manager knows that, but he used Rashford in 53 matches last season, and that surprised me. I do think he loves the idea of using young players, but he's under massive pressure to do well this year, and young players invariably are less consistent than experienced players. And that was one thing I liked about Matic. He came in and he looked like he played for the club for 6 years. It was only a friendly, it was only the first half against Sampdoria, but he looked comfortable. He spoke to the media after the game. He's a big lad, 6'4", and he's 29. He was 29 a couple of days ago. So what are the forks on the floor for? Someone has asked, what are the forks on the floor for? There's no forks on any floor. They're cables for computers. Okay, here we go. Getting loads of questions, some of them I can't read. In a village where a barber shaves everyone who does not shave himself, who shaves the barber? I haven't got a clue. Eric and the lads in Rush, County Dublin, they looked after me last night, and I really appreciate that. I met some really nice people, proper United fans. They go to loads of games despite living in Dublin. They spend a lot of money and a lot of time. They travel all over. McGee finally got round to listening to the podcasts. They're witty, intelligent, and brilliance rolled into one. Cheers. You can give me abuse. You don't have to compliment. Lots of people complaining about the price of tickets last night and the cock up. What was your favourite moment of the tour this year, on and off the pitch? I'm still really pleased and a little bit childlike when I go to some of the world's great cities, like San Francisco. Not saying LA is one, because it takes you an hour to drive everywhere in LA, but clearly, if you're in Hollywood, you're in one of the most renowned places in the world. And Manchester United are everywhere. They're on billboards, and the games are big events. And I think, wow, this is a club that played 2 miles from where I grew up. And I could hear the ground when I was doing my paper round in Urmston and Stretford. Adam Stewart, if Ronaldo offered you £1 million to have a baby that he could adopt, would you do it? Yes. But my wife, who is in earshot, I'm not going to show you, she might have something to say about that. Right, more questions coming through. And please, I can see him on the screen, I can see him on the computer, I can see him on the United We Stand website. Loads of people complaining still about Ireland last night. Pete Summers, when was the last time you sold the mag in the rain? I thought I might get this, just picking and choosing my moments in the sun on a nice August afternoon in Dublin. Actually, I go and see the lads all the time when they're selling a mag outside Old Trafford, and I've earned that luxury because I sold United We Stand on the streets for 22, 23 years. That's a big chunk of my life, and I absolutely loved it, and I still love it. I love it. I really enjoy meeting people and getting feedback, and obviously selling them because it's your work. And people will come up to you and say, Love that article on page 7 last month. And 2 minutes later, someone would come up and say, that was atrocious, what you're doing printing that, you knob. Well, not quite that rude face to face. They saved that for online under a pseudonym. And you think, why couldn't those 2 people just have come at the same time? Next question, if you could interview any sports personality for 30 minutes, who and why? 30 minutes is not really enough to get a proper in-depth. I mean, some of the best ones I've done, Socrates, a great Brazilian, that went on for 3 or 4 hours. And they become a story in themselves. I'm pretty lucky that United have had so many interesting people. I mean, all that class of 92 lads, they all speak well. Roy Keane was brilliant. And, 2 hours with Keane, if you can't get a brilliant interview of that, then you should just give up in journalism. Even half an hour with Keane, because he's so quotable. Magnus Gara, threatening to send a question in, but hasn't done. Matt McDade, who does the artwork for UWS covers? They're great. It's a lad called Rick, Bandit Nana, and he's very talented, and he's a great lad, and he's a proper United fan from Salford, and he goes all the games. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, because I've seen them publicised a little bit. He's designed some murals for J Stand this year, and regulars in J have chipped together, and they've got some really smart artwork from great United moments. The one I saw today was Brian Robson being carried off the pitch at Old Trafford after the Barca game in 1984, the 3-0, after United had lost the first game 2-0 in Camp Nou. So Rick does him. He's called Bandit Nana on Twitter, and he's very talented, and we've got loads of talented people involved in United We Stand, and without them we simply wouldn't have a mag. You need that energy. You see that a lot of fanzines at clubs have fallen by the wayside. I spoke to the Leicester City fanzine yesterday, and it was really nice, because the Fox, it's called, and Gary Silk has edited it for a long time, and I can remember going up to Gary outside Filbert Street in 94, 95, and they produce a good mag, and we'd like to think we do the same. Stuff you won't find online, because we know that people have got to buy it with their hard-earned money. So the fact that it's still going, and we've got people like Rick contributing, and loads of others, there must be 40 people, and the sellers as well. Darren Staunton, do the United players know you quite well, and does it mean you get extra access to the club in general? It depends who you ask. I mean, I've covered United for a long time. I don't think Nemanja Matic has got a clue who I am. Some of the lads do. And they know different things about you. And some of them, you get to know them a lot better when you leave. I mean, I got on very well with Nemanja Vidic, if we're talking Nemanjas. And when he played for the team, when he was at Old Trafford, I knew him, but not really well. I just knew him as a journalist, and one in mixed zones. And it's not really a natural environment, a mixed zone. I'll explain. The players come out the dressing room, they walk past a load of journalists, they don't know most of them, and they don't really want to be there, and it's not ideal. But once you sit down with them, they tend to know you, and some of them are quite interested. Juan Mata is very interested in fan culture. I got to know Ander Herrera when he was still in Spain. I went to see him in Bilbao and sat with him for 3 hours and thought, wow, this lad really knows his stuff, and clearly he's a good footballer as well. And I got, some of them you get to know really well. It's like, I think, any human relationship. I think if I asked you lot, how well do you know the people who you work with, I'm sure there might be a couple of people who you call close friends, and there might be people who you never speak to. But it's in my interest as a writer, and one among, I specialise in Manchester United among other things. It's in my interest to have relationships with people, including players, because I need information. I try and write original information. That's why I make such an effort to go to all the matches and travel around the world and speak to people face to face and develop contacts. And that's just what being a good journalist is, and it takes years. It probably takes 15, 20 years to develop contacts where some of them will just only speak to you off the record. They'll just give you information or help you or guide you. Other people want to be on the record. So that's life as a journalist. Another question, which stadium would you love to go to in Europe? Again, I've been very fortunate to go to almost all the great ones. The best new one I've seen is the one in Marseille, the Velodrome. It was a good stadium anyway, and it's a good city, but they put a roof on it and expanded it. It's just amazing. Love to watch Man United play a game against Marseille, and I'm going to be going to Marseille quite a lot this year to see Patrice Evra, providing he stays there, which I think he will do. I'm just going to look down at the screen to get some more questions. See, in an ideal world, I'd have like a model just reading questions out to me in a bikini in front of me. But we don't live in an ideal world, so I'm doing it all. I'm holding the camera as well. I'm now getting daggers. Other than Alexander the Great and Darko Pancev, can you name 2 famous Macedonians? Asks Olsen11. Hard one. I can tell you that the capital is quite divided, and there is a lot of tension between the native Macedonians and Albanians, and the word Macedonia is an issue as well. If you ask a Greek person, they think that Macedonia is part of Greece, so I'm not going to get too political there. Law Best and Charlton, what's your take on this new 2-match ban for diving? I can't see it lasting myself. No, I get where you're coming from, but I think they've got to outlaw it and make it socially unacceptable. The problem is diving, or art as it's known in some countries, including Spain, it's perceived differently in countries. In Britain, they just don't hack it. In Spain, it's seen as cunning and skillful. Have you ever sneezed and farted at the same time? Asks Texas Pete. Have you ever found a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? How much is it worth? These are the quality of questions we're getting in. Rob Ramsey, Ander Herrera, the new Keane and future captain. No, I don't think he's as good as Keane. I really like Ander. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's Keane class. I don't think... I mean, he had a very good game against Chelsea at April. He was the best player. When he get given a man-marking job, he's fit, he's motivated. I was really pleased when he came to United, and not just because I've been to interview him, but I just don't think he's the same class as Roy Keane. Roy Keane's probably the best midfielder I've ever seen at Old Trafford, followed by Paul Scholes. I know they're totally different type of players, but United finished 6th last season. We've not got the same level as players that we had. Who do you think will be named vice captain? Is the next question, and slightly in relation to that. Possibly Herrera, but I know that Pogba wants to be captain, and I found it interesting in Oslo on Sunday that when Carrick went off, he handed the armband to Pogba and not to Herrera. Don't think it's a be all and end all. Tactical Tourist says, who's your top captain of all time? Martin Buchan for me. Bit young to remember him, but met him and did him in my 70s book. What a man. Really liked Martin. He's a very intelligent man. He's engaging. He really tells good stories. He still lives in Manchester and he still looks good. I mean, lads who played in the 70s are getting on a bit now. So my best captain would probably be out of Roy Keane or Brian Robson. I think Keane was a better player, but Robson held that team together in the 80s. Without Robson, United would have been a disaster in the 80s. And he played through injuries, and he was a childhood hero of mine, Brian Robson. So Robson or Keane as the best captains. We've had so many good captains. Vidic was a good captain. Evra, Gary Neville was a good captain. There have been many. So I've done 24 minutes, got 6 minutes left. Next question. Any insight into why Ricky Sbragia was brought back? Yeah, because he's respected and good at his job. What would you do if you're looking for a new employee? He fits the United mould. He is meticulous. He knows football at that level very well. And I spoke to people about him and they wanted to see him come back. Any more info on expanding Old Trafford? No. Club had looked at it. It's going to happen. When? It's costly. The Glazers are going to be the ones who decide that. But I think with every year, Old Trafford gets a little tattier. And when you're seeing stadiums like Marseille or Tottenham's new ground, Old Trafford gets left behind a little bit more. It's still old 76,000, although they're crammed in. I love the location. The roofs come down too low. I love the redness. I love the fact that it's home, it's Old Trafford, but it's a bit tight outside. Some of those big white beams they need painting. Surely it can't be that much to paint them. So I've got 5 more minutes left. Hope you found this useful. Please throw questions at me. I'll answer as many as I can in the next 5 minutes. And I'm gonna write quite a bit ahead of the Super Cup. I know the players are taking it very seriously. Is it true, asked Darren Staunton, that Neymar had agreed personal terms last year? Not that I'm aware of, and I know people at Barcelona very, very well. I've interviewed pretty much everyone at Barcelona, and I know I get stuff off the record there as well. He flirted. Any idea what happened to Varela? Yeah, I remember going to Uruguay in March 16 to see Diego Forlan, and speaking to people about Varela because he was from Montevideo and no one really knew him because he'd started at Peñarol. I spoke to people at Peñarol. He just don't think he's quite good enough. Would Bale really want to join this season? Ash Winnie. You know, the thing with Bale is he's always reiterated that he's happy in Madrid, and I do believe him, but he gets injured a little too often. He's a very, very good player for Madrid, but you wonder if they get Kylian from Monaco, what will happen? Zidane hinted that one of them might be sold. I don't think he'd decide that. I think Florentino Perez would decide that. But I'd love to see. I think United are still lacking a big star. You know, they wanted Griezmann. I think he would have been brilliant for United, and then that obviously cool. But when I've seen United play Madrid and Barca pre-season, I still think the team are lacking stars. Although players become stars by winning things. Andres Iniesta was never a big star. He became, his greatness allowed him to become that. Which player would you like to go on the piss with? Is the next one. I've been fortunate to go on the piss with lots of them, and some of them are great company, proper laugh. Well, I mentioned David May. I saw him yesterday in Dublin Airport. David is a great character and he's great company. And most of them are just normal lads who are good at football. Have you ever played snooker with Remy Moses at the Rainbow? Asks Assad. No. Tried to interview Remy. I think Remy Moses is the only person who I've tried to really interview and not been able to do it. Just doesn't want to do interviews, and I suppose you've got to respect that. Great player in the 80s. There's one about Perisic there. Let me just try and get it back up. I'm sorry, I can't find that one. But I do think United still want Perisic. He wants to come. Remy was hard as nails, yeah, I know that. He's a top player and he cost £500,000 as well. Manchester lad from Miles Platin, I think. And Perisic, yeah, club want him. Mourinho said last night the club have done well bringing 3 in. I'd be delighted if they bring a 4th in. I think United fans would go along with that. We did a survey on United We Stand's website, and if you're not on there, check it out. I always put bits of information on there. It's only a tenner a year, absolute peanuts, but loads of good travel guides, really good insight on tickets, and some good characters on there, and some absolute loon balls. But what do United do at left back if Luke Shaw doesn't come through? What do United do at right back if Valencia has an issue? Maybe another midfielder, maybe another forward, maybe another central defender. I think there's, looking at it in a worst case scenario, United still need to bring several players in. In a best case scenario, Shaw comes back and he's brilliant. Rojo comes back, Ibrahimovic comes back, but you can see why Mourinho wants to bring more players in. Last minute of questions, please fire any more up now. And if you think this has been worthwhile, because I'm just experimenting with this. I mean, my main job is as a writer, and I'm writing a lot about United, but the podcasts go really well. And I just thought I'm going to, I'll come back to that one, the class of 92. Going to these places, it'd be nice, it'd be stupid for me not to be in Skopje and get it on camera. And I was making video diaries in the 1990s, so technology has allowed it to become much easier. Class of 92 takeover of Old Trafford. I know them lads, it's not something they plan, certainly not in the medium term. I travelled to Asia with them recently, and they're really into Salford City, they're all United fans, but Well, they haven't got the money to take over Manchester United. I think some people at the club wondered what their aims were at the start. Can't see Salford getting into the top flight though. Neither can I. The ground's really good how they've done it. It holds 5,000 now. It's shot up in no time. They've gone full time this year. And then there's another one here. Would the class of 92 lads like to be involved with United because they're such an important part of it? I know Butt is already in the academy. Yeah, the United fans. The United fans, they're from Manchester and they live in Manchester. Who do I think is the best football writer at the moment? That's from Dale. I don't think there's one. I think if you look at the way Martin Samuel writes, he writes very well. Paul Haywood writes well on certain things. Henry Winter goes to a lot of matches and covers a lot of games. I love Jim White. I'm biased. Jim's written for United We Stand for years, writes for the Telegraph. I actually don't read a lot of them because I'd rather form my own opinions, for better or worse. I'd just rather form my own opinions through what I see with my own eyes. And if I call it wrong, then I call it wrong. So even though I'm a football journalist, maybe I'm not the best person to ask there, but there's clearly good journalists around. Mark Ogden and Rob Dawson at ESPN, they're both decent. Stuart Matheson's a good guy at the Manchester Evening News covering the local beat. Anything about Jadon Sancho joining United? If he did, it'd be very funny. Because he's very good. Nick says, has the print size in the mag changed for this season, Andy? Yes, Nick, we've made it a little bit bigger because people were complaining. And I think that some of our readers are getting a little bit older and people were collaring me at matches and saying they can't read the print, so we will make it bigger just for you and for all those other people. We're here to please. I'm going to go now. I will join you. I don't know when I'll join you. I found this quite easy to do. It's literally point and click. And if you found it informative, then maybe I'll do some more. How about from Tirana on Sunday night? I'm going there by myself and I'm making my way over to Macedonia to meet some other fans. So that'll be a bit of a mental one. Or maybe from Skopje. Anyway, until next time. Also consider subscribing to United We Stand. We're working flat out on it. Got some really good stuff in the first issue of the season. But I don't need to tell you that. Most of you buy and support the mag anyway. And I'll leave it for now. It's Thursday night. I'm going to get some sleep, and the next podcast from Dublin, where there's loads of good characters on there, will be up on Friday morning. I can get some nice feedback from you all. So cheers from that. I reckon I should do some more of those 4-minute interviews as well. I've done 2 others. I'll put them up in the next few days. Take care now. Goodbye.